Hi, dear YouTube community. It's been some time since the last video, and I want to give you a bit of an update and share some thoughts about the upcoming elections in Germany. I do this video in English since most of you YouTube followers here are English speaking. So yeah, I haven't been posting lately for some time now. Have not been feeling so well. Had like a lot of things to take care of. Getting my head sorted, basically. Too much overwhelming information and not knowing where to start. Anyhow, being a bit better now. And some things like when I look at the last elections in the US and what that impacts the world, this whole idea of whatever nation first. Um, and I think when he says America first, does he mean the continent? Because America is not a country, right? Isn't it? Anyhow, so now we have the elections coming up in Germany, and currently the discussions or conversations around the elections campaigns are mostly about migration and making Germany safe again. Um, Looking at statistics, like Germany has basically never been as safe as it is now. Like far less violence. But what is even more concerning, the violence compared to other death. So if I compare, let's say, the death caused by, let's say, some extremists, Islamists, whatever, there's a lot more death caused by right-wing violence. And then there is a lot more death caused by male violence towards women. So it's like many times as much, which somehow should be really a topic in the elections. Going further from the femicide perspective, going into death in traffic, right? Looking at how many people get killed in traffic because we have a car-centered culture with lots of like not so much safety for let's say weaker participants in traffic, like pedestrians and bicyclists. So a lot more death there, and then like putting all this into, you know, into a very different level is like the death caused by pollution, by climate catastrophe, by biodiversity loss even. So we have just in heat waves, we have like thousands of deaths in the last years. So even though the talk might not be, the conversations might not be about these deaths, this is the real issue. So like we can't we simply cannot focus on this like populistic simple, ooh, foreigners coming, well, yeah, sure, great, we need foreigners, right? Because look at the demographics in Germany. Like we really need people to come and share space here with us. And this whole idea of nation states, this whole idea of like national borders doesn't exist in us nature anywhere else than in the human experience. So that's a bit of a weird one as well. So I really hope that despite the conversations mostly being about like foreigners and fear and hate and whatever, migration, that most people do know that the real topics are much bigger ones, even though they don't appear in the conversations. So climate catastrophe, insufficiency, lack of nature connection, these are the topics that really matter for human survival. So we need to think long term, and I've seen interesting statistics about like who would vote what. Um, Man, guys, really like think long term. Think long term. Like most women are voting for more, let's say, caring issues, long term issues, a lot of empathy, having an influence on what people vote, mainly women vote. So I wish that, like, we guys, we would really, really think a bit different and feel a bit differently and vote with the perspective of future in mind. And then here's a shout out to the whole generation 60 plus. I know that 40% of those who are in the upcoming election entitled or having the privilege to vote, 40% of those is the team 60 plus. So if this is you, or if you know somebody who is in this team 60 plus, I know that the 60 plus people look at Brexit, are more likely to vote short-term interests. And it's a bigger number of voters. So please, if you know anybody in this team 60 plus, reach out to them, talk with them, ask what are the topics that matter, and really ask for their help to vote in the interest of your future. And actually, we have to say, in also in our presence, it's not just the future. Like, climate catastrophe is here. Looking at the amount of death we are suffering from from climate catastrophe and pollution. So we have more important topics than the migration issues. And I know it might feel really close to your heart, and I know that you might really want to vote according to this. And really, it's a matter of common sense, based on the priorities on the common ground under our feet, to vote in a way that it's not supporting the right-wing parties. I don't want to tell you who to vote. I think you know best. Please make there like this Valomat and other tools that can help you find out. Realomat, Valomat, and others. I've done a couple, and also maybe read the programs of the parties. And if you understand the priorities of survival on an ecocentric planet, I think there are not so many parties that you can choose from in the upcoming election. Please go to vote. For sure, go to vote. Even if you don't want to vote, at least go to vote and give an invalid vote. It's important that we vote. It's a privilege that we have. And looking at the elections in the US and other areas where suddenly planet comes secondary to nation, and growth is still something that people misconceive as a possibility. It's really important that the German elections kind of create a counterbalance and a voice where there's a bit more sense in it, a bit more long-term perspective, and a bit more caring and empathy and love for others and the rest of the life in all its diversity. Thank you for this. Please feel free to share if you think there was some value in this. Have a good time and a good life. Bye bye.